I'm Al McFarlane. You're listening to Conversations with Al McFarlane. Pleased to have the Honorable R.T. Ryback, Mayor of Minneapolis, here for about another minute and a half or 2 minutes. A number of people have questions. We have time for one question. It has to be brief. The others of you, I have to ask you to hold on because we've got another part of the program to do. Sir, your question.
My name is Henry J. Cox. I'm a construction laborer for the last 30 years, 563 here in Minneapolis, and you have a problem where you're talking about contractors. If you install some of the minority within the union as also doing some of your work, as for the employees of the union, being minority, black, which has gone backwards since the day. My dad was a labor BA for 17 years. I have yet to see one besides Steve Suttoff since that point in time. I've also been on jobs where they talked about having diverse. Well, you guys give 2 or 3 days notice before you come and look at a job to see if there is minorities, which gives time for a contractor to move everybody back over to the same job. I've worked on jobs where my cousin was way across the city, but for those 2 to 3 days, he was brought back to work right with me because
so you're saying there's deception. People are being deceived.
Deceived. I was there personally for the last 30 years.
And the point of that is there's a need then for more rigorous enforcement.
And if you push toward the different unions that are here in Minneapolis, which will also take up some of your time as for putting out money and demand that the unions put so many minorities in office, you will cut down on some of your money spending, but also would have that respect for the different laborers who are out there, or carpenters, and watching the jobs.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobs.
First off, thank you, Henry. We are not where we need to be. We've gone further, but one of the reasons that I don't want to cut that area is we've got to go further on it. Now, I did just meet with the building trades 2 weeks ago. Sat down with them and I said, look, we're going to be dealing with stimulus dollars. We are about putting people to work, but we've got to make sure that you are inclusive. The head of the building trades then went over to Summit OIC and met with Louis King and with some of the great kids of color and adults of color who are coming out of that, who are prepared for these new jobs. We're going to stay focused on that, and we're not going to step back on it. As I make choices in the Civil Rights Department, that's the one more than anything that I don't want to cut, because we're not where we need to be, but we'll get there.
Mayor Ryback, tonight, Minneapolis DFL party does precinct caucuses. Why is it important? Make the invitation, if you would, for people to get involved.
Well, I just spent 2 years with a lot of other people who are listening trying to say that it did matter to have African Americans participating in the electoral process. And a lot of people didn't believe it. But once everyone did, take a look at the White House. The White House now has an African American president. And more important, even than that, is the fact that there are African Americans who are included throughout the whole process. The delegation we brought to Denver was the most diverse in history, and Minnesota had the most diverse one in the state. Show up tonight, no matter who you're for. Don't just vote for one person, a phenomenal president, but make sure that you're the one who's the delegate, who next time is the congressman, who next time is the mayor, who next time is the president, on the school board. Be in charge. Tonight's the night when it happens. Show up, vote, and be part of a change.
Mayor Ryback, thank you very much. Randy Staton, last comment?
Last comment, very brief, too. Al, I'm proud to have been a part of helping to establish the initial Civil Rights Department. I'm proud of having been part of the leadership to establish the Civilian Review Board. Mr. Mayor, it's the wrong time to cut back. It's when things are tight and hard. When we look at the stimulus dollars coming down, when we look at the green dollars that's going to be spent, if the same thing happened that has happened in contract compliance in the city, or with MDOT, for example, that certainly just cut out black folk, if the same thing happened, we would be devastated, and we are convinced that that's not going to happen.
McFarlane. You're listening to Conversations with Al McFarlane, broadcasting from the Minneapolis Urban League. And as you can hear, a lot of energy, a lot of excitement. That's what we do. People get involved, and we thank the mayor, R.T. Ryback, for being here, for presenting and listening. We thank people who are here to question and challenge him. That's what we do. We invite you to be part of these conversations as well. We continue the next part of the program. I'm pleased to have as a special guest U.S. Representative Keith Ellison from Minnesota's 5th District. Keith Ellison, Representative Ellison, good morning and thank you for being here.
Great to be here, Al. How you doing, man? It feels like Lucille's Kitchen again.
There we go. That's the idea. Well, joining you, Rabbi Amy Eilberg. Okay, thank you. And Father Michael O'Connell. And the conversation is about your recent trip to the Middle East, Congressman Ellison. And I want you to begin to talk about what you discovered when you visited Gaza and Israel and what issues, how do we interpret, understand, connect with the pain, the suffering, but also the desire for peace, the potential for peace in the Middle East. It's not just something way over there. We all have a part to play. Congressman Keith Ellison.
Well, Al, thanks for the opportunity to talk about this and other critical issues. I mean, I would say this, we may think of the Middle East and the conflict over there as somewhere far away that doesn't matter to us. But if you look at the trouble in the Middle East, it's driving so many things that affect us directly. In 2001, our military budget was about $290 billion. Now it's $690 billion. Martin Luther King said that, war is the enemy of the poor, because what it does is it deprives us from domestic expenditure that we've got to have. And so peace is in the interest of everybody, even people who are not directly involved in a conflict. And I would say that I didn't just go to Gaza, and I've been to the Middle East many times, but on this last trip I went to Doha, Qatar, which is in the heart of the Arab world. I went to Amman, Jordan. I went to Israel. I went to various parts of Israel, and I went to Gaza. And I would submit to you that no matter who you talk to, whether the person is Arab, Israeli, Muslim, Christian, you should know that there are a lot of Christians who live in the Middle East, a lot of Palestinian Christians, and I met with many of them. You should know that that this conflict, the fact that we don't have peace there, drives so much of American foreign policy, which commits dollars, which commits soldiers. Between the Persian Gulf and the Mediterranean Sea, there are 200,000 American soldiers, right? Whether they are in Afghanistan, whether they are in Iraq, no matter where they are, millions of American dollars go there. This conflict between the Israelis and the Palestinians needs to be solved so that we can try to reshape our whole world. Now, I'm not saying that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is the only problem in the Middle East. It's not. But it is the one conflict that everybody who has a beef points to. And so it is in our interest to try to resolve it. And I'm on the Foreign Affairs Committee and spent a lot of time working on it. What did I see while I was in the region? Let me tell you, I was in Israel and in Gaza. There's a little town right outside of Gaza called Sderot. It's an Israeli town. And there are some people, a minority of people, but it doesn't take many to cause a lot of trouble, who are bombing these people every day, causing their lives to really be very harmed and dangerous. People don't know when the bomb's going to come through their roof. I met a guy whose bomb came right through his roof. And then, of course, I went over to Gaza. And let me tell you, Gaza is an area that has been blockaded now for about 18 months to 2 years. Nobody can come in or out. When the fighting started, the people couldn't run away, and Gaza is one of the most densely populated areas in the world. 1.5 million people in an area that's it's not as big as Minneapolis. It's a densely packed area, and so people couldn't run. You should know that when I got there, I was struck by the fact that there were so many kids. A lot of waist-high guys, knee-high guys, little kids everywhere. I said, what percentage of the population is under 18? Somebody told me 50, somebody told me 60. I said, give me the real number. They said 56% of the people of Gaza are under 18. I saw